If I didn't know any better, I'd swear the Man of Steel has a mane. Here's your look at McFarlane Toys. DC Multiverse, McFarlane's Collector Edition, The Strange Lives of Superman. Superman is the world's greatest hero. He's a tireless champion dedicated to protecting life and battling injustice not only in his city of Metropolis, but also all over his adopted world and across the universe. With his fantastic powers and abilities, fueled by his alien cells which hyper-efficiently process the solar energy of Earth's yellow sun, Superman is an unstoppable force for good and a steadfast punisher of evil. Superman is a founding member of the Justice League and an inspiration to the countless other heroes, continuing into the 31st century and beyond. All this popularity is starting to go to Soup's head. Before we look at Superman and all the various heads he has, let's take the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. This is a strange Superman in the sense that he's going to have a couple of different expressions and different faces that you're probably not used to seeing. First, though, as promised, we're going to take the tape measure. Superman's going to stand at about 7 inches in height. That's going to work out to be a figure that's 18 centimeters tall. While you may not be able to place the face, I'm sure you'll recognize the body. This is the same Superman body, in fact, that we've gotten for the classic release of him as well as the 40s animation of him. I mean, I guess it could be said as well, even though really the skin color is completely different with all three of these, that if you did want to change around the bodies, let's just say you don't like the classic look of Superman having too light of an outfit like this, I suppose in theory you could swap the heads, but the necks and the face color-wise aren't going to match. There's a lot to this Man of Steel that really doesn't match. Before though we look at these things, let's look at these things over here. The figure first does come included with a display stand. Being that this is also McFarlane Collector's Edition, it means that silver frills get afforded the DC logo down below. In walking distance, right at the top corner, there's also a peg that can either plug into either one of Superman's boots. Move that off to the side. The figure, though, gets himself a rather strange-looking card. Now, the strange card does depict the different looks of Superman, although you don't get all 4 of these. If you do want to get, though, 4, you'd have to as well get the red version of the Superman, which is a Platinum Edition. This Superman's going to come included with the lion head and the big giant noggin. If you want, though, the mummified bandaged Superman, or if you want the one that looks very much like Edward E. Newman, you'd have to get yourself the red Superman. I know it means, though, you're going to be getting a red Superman, but it does also mean, though, that you're going to be able to get all 4 heads, because, again, you're only going to be getting these 2. On, though, the back of the card, this is one thing that's a little disappointing, is that the read-up gives no mention at all of why Superman has the things that he has. Instead, though, it sort of just gives us a very generic read-up of Superman, one that we have read before. His real name is Kal-El and Clark Kent, but then everything that's after that is just very familiar territory. I wish that in this case, they could have covered different territory, being that we get so many unique things with this version of Supes. For his unique things, Superman, I did kind of want to change things up. At the very beginning of this review, you may have noticed the packaging spinning that he actually had the lion's head and he had the lion claws. I wanted to kind of change that first and kind of give you the basic look to Superman and his body before we start messing around with the way he looks. This Superman, though, while really using, again, that same body as the classic Superman, I mean, again, there's not really much that's different other than really the length of the cape. That's one thing, though. Superman is really known for having a longer cape, yet, though, the strange lives of Superman, apparently he does strange things when it comes to the length of his cape. His cape is nowhere near this length this time around. I don't really love the cape, to be honest, though, because there's a wire that's running along the bottom and there's wires running the sides. Between those, I can't quite get this cape to be completely flat. Whereas this other Superman, I mean, it only really had a wire running down the side, and this was completely left just to the fabric to move on its own. I feel like they probably could have done something similar here to Supes. I know it does mean, though, that the trade-off is you can get more of, like, ripples going to the cape, but it's sort of like taking a prize out of a cereal box. The moment you, as a kid, you probably would have just pulled the whole entire bag out, just try to fish down and grab out little wacky wall walker, for example, and then you just sort of cram the bag back in the box, and the box would just look like a disaster. Your mother would always say, like, who took the cereal bag out? And you would say, oh, it wasn't me. It came that way out of the stores. Mom would always really know. I was even really using that reference. The reference really more is that once you get this out of the packaging, the cape is never going to look good. I mean, it's always sort of really bunched up at the bottom. Not to mention as well, like, it's a really short cape. Did we spend enough time talking about the cape? Okay, let's talk a little bit about Superman's head. A head I don't think we've gotten yet before. I mean, again, this is going to be the exact same head that we're getting with the Platinum Edition as well. Sort of take this idea of what you're seeing right now and just change the blue instead of the red. The red is going to be on the Platinum. The blue, the basic blue, is what we're going to be getting with a regular release. The head sculpt for what we get is pretty good. I mean, it's a very specifically timed Superman. I'm sure you probably could have looked through the comics around the 60s and 70s and seen a Superman that looked similar to this. I would never have ever said that this is a definitive looking Superman. It really is locked away in a time capsule. It's a specific time frame in which Superman will look this way. It's a good look for the character. It just wouldn't be my definitive Superman. The emblem is also something, too, that takes up a good majority of space of his torso. It's not as wide, for example, as the 80s Superman. It's a little bit longer, and clearly, though, I mean, they're going with more of a darker blue for his body. The trunks are going to be the same. The lower boots are all the same as well. You're just basically getting darker colors approached for the blue, and you're getting kind of a really weird cape that just doesn't really want to agree with you. I get it. I understand. I mean, it's sure fine to be able to move the cape down the bottom here, but it's like a cereal box. There's no way you're going to be able to get this looking the way it looks. I mean, I would have really even said getting it out of the packaging, but even getting it out, it looked like this. Now, if you did want to change the look for Superman, he does, have a couple of options available. I guess while we're still sticking with these hands, Superman has this big, giant brain head. So strange. The head sculpt, I suppose, is similar enough. You could really see that one is definitely, one would be the first step to this, but just this one has the big, giant head. It reminds me of the Trap, the early pilot of Star Trek with Christopher Pike, where he goes on the planet and those aliens that had the big giant brains were apparently all cast and acted by females, but it kind of does remind me of those big brains. It kind of also reminds me of the Leader from Marvel Comics. If you did want to change out the head, just kind of grab onto the head that he has, pop that off the peg, and swap it out with Big Brain Superman. Look how ridiculous that is. I mean, again, it's a reflection of the time. I mean, this is during the time when, like, Superman battled everyone. He had different colored comics, different colored costumes throughout the comics, and he'd have really weird looks like this. So I don't mind the fact that we finally get, like, a big head Superman. I don't know if that's really something that people have been asking for a while. Like, come on, Todd, we need to get ourselves a big head Superman. I guess for what it is, it's pretty interesting enough. It's also interesting, too, when you change it out to the lion. To do that, also, you're just going to pop the head off, and you're going to change it out with the lion's mane. Now, with so much fur now on this head sculpt, it's going to limit a little more of the articulation. And again, when you get this guy out of the packaging, he actually has this head. Well, you already saw it. That was at the beginning of this review. The red Superman, the Platinum Edition, actually does start things with the regular version of his head. And then the Alfred E. Newman head sculpt is kind of over here. And I think like the bandaged head is right over here. So like if you're one to kind of keep your Superman in packaging and you kind of really just want a Superman head, the red one probably would be better for you. So let's go ahead and just pop the head in place. The socket, I don't even know if you'd be able to see. It's way down in there. Hello? It's way down in there. So let's just go ahead and pop that onto the peg. I will say is that one thing I would praise at least this figure for, it's pretty easy to change the head. So I was kind of thinking to myself, this is going to be a difficult nightmare to try to yank one off a ball joint and then replace it with another. But no, changing out the heads was super easy. It is going to limit much in the way of the posability for the figure. But now we can at least answer the age-old question, was Superman ever a lion? I know you were asking that. The one other thing we may want to do, too, is change out his hands for paws. Look at these paws that Superman has. I guess close-wise in color, they match that to his face and his ears. We're going to go ahead and just yank off Superman's hands. Again, not hard to do. And we'll just... Paws, of course, you want to make sure, of course, the thumb goes in, whether you're following the rule of thumb for human hands or feline hands. Let's just pop it off on the other side as well. Not lose the hand in the process. And we'll just pop the new lion hands in place, just like that. So now, Superman, again, did you ask for this? Maybe you didn't. Maybe you did. Maybe you did. Superman now has himself little lion paws. Not so little either. I mean, look at the size of these things. For the figure's articulation, again, if you're familiar with this Superman, or for that matter, you're familiar with this Superman, you're going to then be familiar with the articulation on this figure as well. Now, it's going to lose some of it here when, of course, the head sculpt, it's not going to move the way that you want it to move. There's so much lion fur occupying this real estate space, it's next to impossible to be able to do anything with it. The head's going to move up and down only just by a little bit. Yeah, sure, of course, you could rotate it all the way around. But when you rotate things, though, that's when it starts to pop off the peg. So we'll just get that back in place. Lining things up also can be a little bit trickier because you got to make sure that when you're putting it in place, the peg hole isn't really dead center. It's more closer to his face. So that's the place where you're going to want to peg it. As for his arms, yeah, they rotate all the way around. No issues there. You can bring the arms out at a T pose, 90-degree angle bend if you prefer. The figure does also have a bicep swivel, so you can rotate it easily back and forth there. A double hinge on the elbow will afford it the figure. You can also rotate the hands all the way around. Hinge those back and forth too. Upper torso is going to be on a ball joint. Lower from that, the figure does also have a ball joint in his abdomen area. The legs do split out the exact same way. I did notice, though, with this Superman, his legs are a little, only by just a little, looser than the previous Superman, which are like right over there. You just can't see them. Sure enough, yeah, the legs go forward. You can also move them back. They only go as far back as here, because obviously it's hitting the back of his trunks. A little bit of a swivel goes a long way on the top of his thigh. The figure does also have a very ratcheted knee. No articulation, or if there is, it's just very little here for his boots. There's ankle pivot up and down, an ankle rocker back and forth, and yes, the figure does also have toe articulation as well. I would have really loved if, I mean, again, like the red Superman isn't bad. Had they released maybe perhaps the blue Superman, like we're looking at in this review, with 2 different head sculpts also as well, just in case you didn't like the look of a red-clad Superman, then you could have at least gotten all the 4 heads represented here on the card. Because again, we're only getting these 2. To get the other 2, you're going to have to get the Platinum Edition. The bodies, again, while we're getting the exact same treatment of soups as what we got with this figure, which again is still one of it is my go-to Superman. I don't know if I would ever really say The Strange Lives of Superman is my go-to Superman. No, never, ever. But yeah, this body's been used before a couple of times with Superman figures. We also got a Kingdom Come release Superman that also used this same mold. The mold, I will say, at least to its credit, is doing things very different indeed. I mean, sure enough, yeah, if you wanted to, you could display the soups on the shelf. Just a more kind of Silver Age, Golden Age Superman if you want to go that look. If you want to go a little crazy, though. And you know what? There's nothing really wrong with going crazy from time to time. You can then display Superman with the big, giant brain, or you can make him a lion. I mean, again, it checks the box off if there was anybody that ever asked, was Superman ever a lion? Not only is the proof in the pudding, but because of that, we can check off a box. Another figure that we've gotten from Todd and his team. If I was to tell you the things I didn't like about this figure, surprisingly, the alternate head sculpt wouldn't be it. It would be the cape. The cape, by its length, and that they also decided to sew in there a wire on the bottom of it, means that you're always going to be fighting and fussing around with it. I know the trade-off, though, means that you can get the cape in some more rather interesting poses, but I feel like you could almost have just done that as well with having the cape with wires on the sides. You didn't need to do it in the middle. This is certainly, though, an interesting take to Superman in the fact that he does have one of the shorter capes that we've gotten from DC Multiverse. Not to mention, again, like the obvious things is that he has the big giant head and he's got the lion head, which we're depicting here in the final looks of the figure. I'm glad that when it came to having a lion head, which is just strange on its own, that they at least were smart enough to include lion hands. How much more awkward would it look that the Man of Steel would have a lion's face, but not actually have lion hands? Nice looking sculpted figure, being again that it's just using the same body as both the classic Superman and the 40s animation style, and of course the Kingdom Come. We still haven't looked at the Kingdom Come here on this channel. I like the look of the body. I think it's a figure mold that you can still get much more mileage from. Again, I just never really expected we'd ever be chartering into the territories of the strange lives of Superman. By the way, though, I did actually get this figure on the Facebook selling group from Popeye the Toy Man. If you guys are interested and certainly would like to check out what he currently has available, you can click the link down below in the video description. What do you guys, though, think of the Strange Lives of Superman? Too strange of a figure to have on your collection shelf? Weigh in your thoughts. What do you guys think of him? If you guys also did enjoy this video, do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on that bell so you're always going to get the reminders of whenever new YouTube videos pop up. And of course, if you did want to check out more that I've done from McFarlane Toys and the DC Multiverse line, popping up on the very end of this video in adjacent corners will be playlist. Feel free to give those a watch. We're going to have some more DC Multiverse reviews coming your way, so I hope you guys are going to be coming back for those. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.